We're back. I always come back. It's been a while, but I've made FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 in Minecraft, so it's only natural I make FNAF 3. All fully playable, recreated in vanilla Minecraft. We're talking only commands and resource packs here. We'll make all 6 nights of gameplay as well as the minigames and extras. FNAF hype is back and we're gonna go all out for this one. The only rules I'm setting for myself is that the game must run in fully vanilla Minecraft, and if any mods are used, they'll only be used for performance or building the map, and they need to be able to be removed with the map and gameplay still being exactly the same. This map will also feature a multiplayer mode. We'll go in more detail for this later though. As always, the map download will be completely free for anyone who wants to download it once we hit our like goal. And I think I'll set 2 like goals for this video. The first one being 10,000 likes for the map download, of course, but also if we hit 20,000 likes, I'll also remake FNAF 4 and drop it by the end of this month. Another fun bit of trivia is that when I say the word subscribe, the subscribe button will do a fun little rainbow glowing effect. It's true. Is this just an excuse to get you to press the subscribe button? Yeah, but it's also real, go look. Not to mention these maps also take like hundreds of hours to make and we give them out completely free, so like subscribing is the best way to show your support and also get notified when new maps release. When building the map, I used the mod Axiom to terraform and create this nice looking area for a hub. At the time of building this, replay mod had not come out on the newer versions of Minecraft, so I actually went and made all of this in an older version of Minecraft so I could still have the time lapse. Using the cameras from FNAF 3 as well as a Blender model I found online, I went and recreated the map from the game, starting with the floor, then the walls, then the roof, and then extra detail. When it came to detailing, thanks to Axiom's new feature, which lets you place any display entity in the world, it also allows you to rotate and position them super easily. It allowed me to put custom resource pack models in the game super easily, and it made decorating super easy, and I was able to make it look super good. Display entities are a fairly new feature added to Minecraft, so to quickly explain them, they have 3 forms. They can either be a block display, an item display, or a text display. And with item displays, Minecraft gives you the freedom to put any custom model on them you'd like as long as it follows Minecraft's rules. Since many of these assets are reused from previous FNAF games, I reused a lot of previous models from the previous FNAF maps to decorate. Huge shout out to Kai Coyote for providing the textures for these. Their link will be in the description. Here's the basic layout of the map. Starting at the entrance, you'll have 2 connected hallways. These also have some fun FNAF themed decorations. After this, it'll be followed by an arcade looking room. You can then walk down this pizzeria themed hallway into 2 more connected hallways. These show off a few of the old animatronic suits. Going down the last hallway, you'll find a security office as well as a few more decorations before the exit. And with that complete, we can start to visualize just how cool this map will look when it's finished. But we still have more to do. Let's get started on making the animatronic models for this map. There are 7 animatronics in total. In FNAF 3, of course, we have Springtrap, but we also have the 6 Phantom animatronics. And every single one of these are just retextures from previous models in other games. I ain't complaining, it makes my life easier. I started by grabbing the Bonnie model and making them the color Springtrap. I did this on the modeling software called Blockbench. After this, I added all the extra smaller details. I then made 2 sets of animations for Springtrap, one of these being the poses used in the base game, as well as the jump scare. And the second set of animations will be mapped to the player so it can be played during the multiplayer game mode. In order to import these animations and still keep everything vanilla, we used a useful Blockbench plugin called Animated Java. This will take our models and animations and convert them into commands which can be put inside of a Minecraft data pack, and it will run 100% in vanilla Minecraft. You don't even need resource packs anymore to use this thanks to display entities, though we'll still be using resource packs for the extra detail. For the Phantom animatronics, I just grabbed the old models for them and put a filter on them to make them look like the Phantoms. I also gave them all of their animations for each set. But now we can get into the fun part, the gameplay. I started by using interaction entities to make a knight select system. This works by having an invisible armor stand that has a custom model on its head, and using 2 interaction entities to swap the item on its head. This shows what knight you have selected. We can also track this value through scoreboards. Scoreboards are a system in Minecraft which counts various things, like how many times a player has broken a block or killed a mob. But it can also be used to count and track numbers and then reference them in later commands. When clicking the button to start a knight, it will look at what knight you have selected and then set the AI values for the animatronics. We'll talk more about the AI later though. When starting up a knight, you're sitting in this chair. We do this by simply using the /ride command on an invisible armor stand to make us sit. There are a few other things the player can do. The first thing is use our cameras. This can be done by pressing Q. We track this by filling the player's inventory with a bunch of non-stackable invisible items. I personally used cake for this. This then allows me to customize anything I wanted in the HUD by just just changing the texture on each of the cakes. I then simply tracked when an item was dropped and ran a function to open up the cameras. How this works was setting up a system of a bunch of different invisible armor stands around the map, and then using the /ride command to send the player to each of them. And then we use the /TP command to make them face in the correct direction. I'll also be throwing on a mod here that makes it less stuttery and cleaner. This is because Minecraft's TP system is pretty bad. But of course this is 100% optional and is not required to play the map. It's just there as an option. I use interaction entities at each of the armor stands to track when the player left and right clicks. This will then swap which camera they're on. Next up, I put a carved pumpkin on the player's head whenever they opened the camera. The reason for this was the pumpkin overlay. We can swap this out through a resource pack into a camera overlay. This will make it look like we're in the security camera. I then swap out one of the cape's textures with a mini-map to show off the map and give the player a better idea of where everything is. I then swap out the texture of this depending on whether they're in the hall or vent cameras. Using this WASD detection data pack made by CloudWolf, we can track whether the player is pressing W or S when riding an armor stand. We can then use this as a shortcut to swap between the hall and vent cameras. And I can also use this as a keybind to allow the player to close the vents as well as playing audio lures.
Where's that child? Where are you hiding it?
We'll explain what all those are when talking about Springtrap's AI though. The last basic mechanic will be this little console here next to the player. When clicking it, it will present them with a few different options to reboot other mechanics. This can be used when one of them goes offline for a various reason, whether that be the video, audio, or ventilation systems. We also track this using the WASD detection data pack. As for the length of the nights, each hour lasts 60 seconds and there's 6 hours in a night. However, on night 1 they only last 40 seconds. Basically like every 5 Nights at Freddy's game ever, the night ends when you hit 6 AM. When it comes to making the AI, it's actually really simple and can be done essentially all through scheduling functions and using scoreboards. So here's how it works. We have a scoreboard called move counter, and every second it increases by 1 using a scheduled function. If aggressive mode is enabled, it'll increase by 2 every second. However, there are a few other values needed to determine when he can move. There's a second scoreboard I called aggressive. This will determine how aggressive he is. This is usually set to 0, however there are a few circumstances that can cause this to increase. One way it can increase is by passing 4 AM. It will also increase when you're sitting in your office for more than 10 seconds. And it'll also increase if there's an error. The next value we'll have will be a second scoreboard. This will be a random value from 1 to 15. In the actual game, there is one more value that's used to determine when they can move, however I just set it as a random number from 1 to 5 instead because I couldn't figure out how it works. The game will then run this equation using an execute if function. If the move counter is greater than the number that comes out of this equation, Springtrap will be granted a movement opportunity. A couple of things will happen when he gets this movement opportunity. The first thing that will happen is a random number from 1 to 3 will be selected. This will determine if and where he can move. If the value 1 is selected, he'll move forward. If the value 2 is selected, he'll move backwards. And if the value of 3 is selected, he'll move into a vent. If no vent is present, then he just won't move for this turn. However, you also need to worry about Ghost Springtrap. The player can see hallucinations that will trick the player into thinking Springtrap is somewhere else. If you currently have a ventilation error, you'll often see a bunch of fake Springtraps in various locations. Once the real Springtrap makes his way into the hallway outside your office though, he'll enter attack mode. This attack mode has 4 different stages. Attack stage 1, here he's just hanging outside your window. When he's in this phase, he'll have a 50-50 chance of moving each movement opportunity. He will also only move if you're looking at your cameras or using the error panel. You can pull him out of attack mode by luring him back to camera 2 using an audio lure. Once on attack stage 2, he'll run past the window with another 50-50 chance. Here he can either go to stage 3 or stage 4. If he progresses to stage 3, he'll be at camera 1 right behind your door. However, if you're viewing a camera or the error monitor, he'll move right to stage 4, which is right at your door. Once he's at your door, he can now kill you. There are a few different ways for this to happen. The first way is by looking at your reboot monitor. He will then pull this down and jump scare you. The second is if you're just looking away from him. The third way he can kill you is if there's a blackout. The final way for him to kill you here is if you're looking at your camera during attack stage 4. Once you close your camera, you'll be jump scared. He can also just flat out kill you by going through the vents. In the previous equation, there was a factor called Springtrap's AI level. This also impacts whether the phantoms can attack you or not. The phantoms activate at 1 AM every night. Let's go through each of these phantoms and how they work. First up, we have Phantom Balloon Boy. He activates on night 2. This means you won't see him at all during night 1. He has a chance to spawn in every 20 seconds if you aren't looking at your cameras. The chance of him spawning in is based off Springtrap's AI level. If his AI is set to level 1, then he'll have a 10% chance of spawning. If it's set to 2, then he'll have a 20% chance, etc. When he spawns in, he'll appear on 4 of your cameras, those being camera 1, 7, 9, and 10. He also automatically spawns in at 3 AM. In order to avoid the jump scare, you need to quickly switch away after seeing him. The amount of time you get to look away is also determined by Springtrap's AI level. This basically means the time you get to look away is determined by which night you're on. On night 2, you get 1.5 seconds. On night 3, you get 1.35 seconds. On night 2, you get 1.15 seconds. And on night 5, you get 1 second. On night 6, you get 0.8 seconds. If you look at him for too long, you'll then get jump scared. Once you get jump scared by Balloon Boy, he'll despawn and you won't see him again for the rest of the night. Getting jump scared by a Phantom animatronic doesn't end your night either, it just gives you some errors. Next up, we have Phantom Chica. She functions exactly the same, but only starting on night 3 instead of night 2. Chica's also forcefully spawned in at 5 AM instead of 3 AM and appears on different cameras. Same thing with Phantom Mangle. The only difference with the Phantom Puppet is that they spawn in on night 4. However, Phantom Freddy and Phantom Foxy are a bit different. Freddy will become active on night 3 and his movement opportunities will happen even if you have the camera open. These will happen every 60 seconds. In order to get jump scared by Phantom Freddy, you'll need to look at him for 3 times longer than Balloon Boy. This makes him a bit easier to avoid, but if you look at him for too long, he'll vanish and then have a 50% chance of jump scaring you every second. When it comes to Foxy, it's all RNG. Complete chance. Starting night 3, when opening your cameras, you have a 2% chance of him spawning. He'll have a 4% chance of spawning on night 4 and a 10% chance of spawning on night 5 and 6. He's never spawned in automatically. There is a cooldown in the actual game, but making a queue system confused me, so I just won't be including that here. When talking about the other various mechanics like the camera's audio lures and rebooting systems, it can be done through a very similar method. Let's start with the audio lures. When using one, we'll have the /random command generate a random number between 1 and 7. If the number is 1, the lure will fail. This gives the lure a 6 and 7 chance of working. Then if Springtrap is close enough, he will move into that room shortly afterwards. There's also an error value for this audio. When using the audio lure, it will subtract some of the error value from the audio system. When the error value reaches 0, you'll get an audio error and no longer be able to use the audio lures. You can set this error value back to 10 by using the reboot system. The number of the error value that is subtracted is equal to Springtrap's AI value. This is also the same as the night you're on with 2 exceptions. These exceptions being night 1 and night 6. On night 1, his AI value is set to 0, and on night 6, his AI value is set to 7. And yes, this means you can use it an infinite amount of times on night 1. The cameras also have a similar error system, but it's based on a timer. Every second that you have the cameras open, a timer will tick up. When the timer reaches 12, it will subtract from the AI value, and you'll no longer be able to use the security camera. In order to get the cameras back, you'll need to reboot. The vents work almost exactly the same, however due to a bug you won't get any errors on night 6. While this is only a bug in the actual game, I'll be recreating it in the Minecraft version because it has such a profound effect on gameplay. With all of this in mind, here's how long you can use the 2 systems each night before you'll get an error. When rebooting one of these 3 systems, it can take anywhere between 4 and 10 seconds to fully reboot one. And when rebooting all systems at the same time, it takes twice as long. And with the base gameplay out of the way, we now need to make the other aspect of FNAF 3's gameplay, and that is the 2D elements. I've made a bunch of 2D Minecraft controllers in the past, so making the basic minigame 2D platforming controllers isn't tough at all. However, there's also a top-down perspective used for some of the minigames. I actually have done this once before in my Legend of Zelda video, so I'll just be reusing that system here. To quickly sum up how that will work, the camera will be locked to a top-down perspective in F5, giving you 4 directions of movement. Sprinting and jumping will also be disabled. That's really all there is to it. This game has 3 different endings you can get. The first one is the bad ending. In order to get this, you'll need to play through all 5 nights and complete the minigame at the end of night 5. However, in order to get the good one, you need to complete all these different minigames, and they're kinda tricky to figure out. So here's the rundown. Alright, now this is where FNAF 3 starts to get cool. There are a bunch of minigames inside of FNAF 3 that you can unlock. The main ones you get by just completing every night. And this stuff gets deep. It also gets very confusing. After completing each of the main minigames when ending a night, you'll be treated to this pizzeria. You can play as one of the animatronics, and when making your way to the end, you'll find Afton, who then disassembles you. After beating this on night 5, you'll get a cutscene where you chase Afton around. After this, Afton gets inside of the Springtrap suit and gets spring-locked. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this scene. But it's the secret minigames where things start to get interesting. Normally the minigames depend on which night you're on, but I made them all accessible during all the nights. This is just to save me the headache of trying to set everything up. However, you still need to do them in order. So here's how you go about all of that. The first minigame you get by going to camera 8. By pressing T, you're able to free your mouse. In order to unlock the minigame, you'll then need to click on the Balloon Boy poster. Now you might be wondering how the hell I made this work in vanilla Minecraft. The /tellroll command allows you to send a message in chat and you're able to make it clickable. So I cleverly flooded the chat with a bunch of different tell rolls to make sure there's a little clickable icon right where Balloon Boy should be. I then went into the chat settings and set the chat opacity to 0 so the chat doesn't appear like anything's in it when you enter the camera. After pressing this, it'll open up the mini-game called Balloon Boy's Air Adventure. The goal of this game is to collect all of the balloons, but there's one small problem. They aren't all there. Normally you just leave, however, in order to complete the minigame, you'll need to jump through this fake wall on the top left of the screen. After doing this, you'll be able to fall down into a secret room. Going right, you'll find some strange scenery. Going past that, you'll find the final balloon and end the minigame. And this will start a chain of events that'll allow you to get the real ending. You can unlock the second minigame by going to camera 7. There's a hidden chat message here as well. When pressing T, it will reveal 4 buttons, and you'll need to press them in this order. Top left, top right, bottom right. This will open the Mangle's Quest minigame. The goal of this minigame is to collect all of Mangle's body parts while avoiding the children. You can exit after this, however you don't want to do that. There's another fake wall in the top right that you can jump through. You'll then fall into another weird area. Moving to the left past this weird crying dude, you'll find these balloons. These balloons appeared here because you previously beat the Balloon Boy minigame, if you're doing this correctly. Otherwise you shouldn't be here. You're doing it wrong. How dare you? After climbing these balloons, you'll be able to find this cake. You'll complete the minigame by collecting the cake. In order to unlock the next minigame, you need to start by going to camera 2. When opening chat, you'll see a cupcake. In order to unlock this next minigame, you need to go to these cameras and click the cupcakes in this order. Camera 2, Camera 3, Camera 4, and then Camera 6. You'll then be able to unlock Chica's Party. At first you might think the goal of this minigame is to collect these cakes and give them to the crying children, but that actually has nothing to do with completing the game at all. No, instead what you want to do is make your way down and to the left and jump through this fake wall. Here you'll find the balloons from the Balloon Boy minigame, and after jumping up these you'll be able to give the cake from minigame 2 to this crying child. And you'll be able to do this because you're playing these minigames in order. Because you're playing them in order. You are following the rules. You better be following the rules. Yeah, that's what I thought. You'll find the next minigame is actually hidden in your office. When pressing F3B to reveal hitboxes, you'll notice that there's 9 tiles on the wall that have interaction entities on them. But this is actually a number pad. By pressing the tiles in the order of 3, 9, 5, 2, 4, it will open the next minigame. From what I can tell, this minigame has no direct name, but it's referred to as Stage 01. Here you'll want to jump down and then clip through the stage. After this, you'll want to fall down and make your way to the right. After making your way past these looping rooms, you'll find an exit. However, you don't want to go through that. Instead, you gotta do this crazy shit. Bear with me as I try to explain this. This wall here actually has a secret ladder that you can climb. Then there's a duplicate room of the one you're standing on to your left that you can jump on. After doing this, you'll want to go to the middle left and jump up. After doing this, you'll clip through the stage. Then you want to make your way to the right wall and clip up that. After phasing through the roof, you want to make your way back to the left and jump up through the stage again. Then you want to climb the left wall and clip through the floor again. After doing this, clip through the roof one last time before making your way to the right, and you'll find this box with a little crying child. After giving them Mangle's cake, you'll then end the level. Yeah, that's basically brain rot. I don't know who came up with this, and I don't know how people figured this out. It's confusing as hell. I barely know what I'm doing. This is very complicating to code. I haven't done all this before. I'm just following what this Reddit post says. Figuring this out has been a nightmare. After doing this, you're now going to want to re-enter Balloon Boy's game. After clipping through the wall, you'll find there's some balloons where you previously fell. After doing that, you'll find a child standing on this platform where you can then give them a cake as well. Once you complete this, a Shadow Bonnie action figure will now appear on your desk. Clicking this will open your second to last minigame. I like to call this level Stage 02 because it also does not have a name. It's like the stage, but different. This time you're playing as Shadow Bonnie. In this world, you are God, and you can swap between which level you're playing by pressing Q. This will scroll through all the mini-games, however you'll find there's one that's different. It's this weird purple staticky box, and in the bottom left you'll find a child that you can't reach. In order to get to this child, you'll want to press Q and swap to the Balloon Boy minigame and jump through the hole in the top left. Well, I say the hole, but there's definitely a wall there. This is just, you know what I'm saying. After doing this, you can swap back to the purple staticky void and give this child a cake. With this done, you can now access the final minigame. In order to do this, you gotta go to camera 3 and there will now be a cake in chat that you can press. This will bring you to the happiest day minigame. After making your way to the right, you'll find this crying kid surrounded by 4 other kids. These kids are all wearing various FNAF masks. You can give this crying kid a cake and it will cause them to also start wearing a mask. After this, the kids will vanish and the masks will fall to the ground. The balloons then also fly into the skies, symbolizing how the children's spirits are raising into the heavens. I think. I don't know, this is vague. Anyway, yeah, that's all the minigames. You can now play through night 5 and get the good ending. It's the same as the bad ending, but this time there's no lights. Apparently this is good. And in order to get the third and final ending, you just need to beat night 6. A bit easier than the second ending, I know. I also want to give a huge shout out to NoBlock Matt for making all the custom NoBlock music for each of these minigames. I'll link all of his FNAF covers below if you want to check them out. Also another quick shout out to Mortimer Kerman for making the convenience mod that makes the cameras less stuttery. Of course it's all optional, which makes this map 100% vanilla. You can play this game with absolutely no mods at all. And yeah, that's it, that's FNAF 3, what a game. As far as multiplayer is concerned, I'll drop a second video on my second channel going into how that works. You can expect that video to come out a few days after this one. A quick reminder that you'll be able to play this map for absolutely free once the video hits 10,000 likes. And I'll also make a FNAF 4 map once this video hits 20,000 likes. Alright, that's all, goodbye for